Many people choose to commemorate things they find important with statues and other still monuments. They want a permanent tribute to something they find important. It often seems like middle to upper class white citizens choose to commemorate with still monuments, plaques, etc., but groups from other ethnicities differ by using the power of performance. Performance as a form of commemoration often takes the forms of festivals or parades. This is for a couple of reasons. Around the turn of the 20th century, whites began putting up statues to commemorate Civil War soldiers and battles. In response, African Americans often held parades and such festivals to celebrate their heritage and newly won freedoms. This was due to limited funding and restrictions on areas to put up monuments. By holding festivals in public areas, they were able to display various aspects of culture and group together. Native Americans used similar celebrations in the form of powwows to remember their past and celebrate the history of their culture.
The Carolina Indian Circle at UNC Chapel Hill celebrated its 27th annual powwow March 29th in Woolen Gym. The theme was Walking in Two Worlds and was one of the first powwows of this powwow season. For those of you that have never attended a powwow, they are a unique experience full of music and dance. Everything happens within an unbroken circle, symbolizing fellowship and unity. This powwow started with a drum circle competition, followed by the grand entry, and then transitioned into a multitude of dances. Drum circles are an exciting way to welcome guests and boost energy. During the grand entry, the competitors entered the circle under both the American flag and a traditional Lumbee flag. They danced the loop around and then asked all the veterans to come forward. They were the guests of honor at the powwows. The dance was a central part of the powwow. Everyone moved around gracefully and in beat. The various dances symbolized the different parts of nature, such as grass or butterflies.
Amy Hertel, the director of American Indian Studies, defined powwows as a celebration of living and thriving American Indian cultures. Powwows are an active way in the present to bring the community together to honor tradition through dance, song, drumming, foodways, faith, and kinship. Powwows can be held within a tribal community or in another setting, such as at a university where there is a Native American community.
Powwows are a way of life for the performers. They gather together in groups and often spend their spring and summer weekends traveling around to various powwows and celebrating a way of life. One man interviewed said that he comes to powwows because that's what he remembers from his childhood. He brought his young daughter, who also performed, because he wanted to pass the traditions on to her. Hertel says that powwows are important because they often serve as family reunions and a way of reuniting people.
The tradition of powwows really began with forced resettlement onto reservations. The government made the Indians put on dances so the public could come watch. The parading of participants transformed into the grand entry and dancing. This created intertribalism and bonded many tribes that were formerly at odds with one another. Since then, they have become commercialized, and some of the participants use their winnings as supplemental incomes.
According to Malinda Lowery, a professor of history at UNC and a Lumbee,
powwows are culturally significant for many reasons. For American Indians, powwows have become a powerful way to demonstrate the connection between outsiders' ideas about the past and our own ideas about the past and present. Powwows are a way to demonstrate, in a way that non-Indians can understand, the thriving beauty of songs, dances, and togetherness that is Indian life today. The powwow tends to evoke a remembrance of the past for outsiders, to ways of dressing, dancing, and singing that tend to be considered old, but for American Indians, I think it is another way of gathering that is not different from a family reunion or a church homecoming. We are there to commemorate our community, our ancestors who got us to this point, and celebrate just being together in a world that otherwise pretty much does not exist. And the bonus of a powwow is that non-Indians can also recognize it as Indian, and therefore see its participants as members of an Indian community, which eases our way when we, as a group of people, demand that we explain ourselves and our Indian identity. We can point to the powwow as an example of something we do that maybe other groups of people don't use as a type of commemoration. And for outsiders looking in on our way of life, that positively reinforces our existence as Indian people.
Dance and music are the only ways to activate this kind of commemoration responsibly. Because the motion of the powwow and the cultural creativity it represents accurately mirrors how our identities are dynamic, responsive to our own needs and to the demands of outsiders. Music and dance and the customs and protocols of the powwow setting are things that embody that dynamism. Because they are not fixed, they constantly change, just as real people and real cultures change. There are aspects about powwows that are traditional, but tradition is best understood not just as something we've always done, because we haven't always done powwows, but as things that we value. And we value the togetherness, the creativity in the music, dance, and regalia, the grounding that the protocols and familiarity of the songs and dances provide. The powwow as a performance is an active process of commemoration, not a commemorative event that exists in a fixed way on the landscape.
The various dances at powwow symbolize various aspects of creation. There are 9 main types of dance, including grass, fancy shawl, and fancy feather. Each of these is accompanied by certain types of dress. Variations include different headdresses, accessories, and cloth. The type of dance and dress is usually determined by what tribe one belongs to. Children have to earn their costumes. They often wear more simple costumes that grow more elaborate with age. The performers have to earn their feathers as a rite of passage. The dancing and dress is an important aspect within powwows, as a way to celebrate the history of an individual tribe.
Movement was everywhere at the Carolina Indian Circle powwow. From the exaggerated striking of drums to constant dance, those in attendance used their bodies to tell stories. Upon asked why Native Americans used performance to commemorate culture and tradition, Verna Street said that it was because everything in Native American culture is of the earth and creation. Her father was a pastor, so she grew up going to church and hearing the creation story, but nothing in his sermons was alive. She spoke passionately about the life of powwows, how it wasn't just stories, but living and moving interpretations of creation. Her dance was that of the butterfly, which tells the story of a girl becoming a woman. She was able to experience her dance, something that does not happen with traditional monuments.
Hertel sees performance as an educational way to spread awareness about various aspects of Native American culture. By dressing and dancing, Indians share information about both their tribes and the natural world with observers. Maynor said, because of this special and conflicted relationship to history, American Indians deeply value commemoration, but we do not see it as an activity that is meant to mark something that occurred in the past. Rather, commemoration is a way for us to demonstrate our active engagement with the past, and at the same time, with the forces in the present that we understand as living, breathing aspects of our identity.